Hello, and a warm welcome to the Soul Purpose Business Bliss podcast. From me, Dina Marais, your host, and mindset and business coach for coaches and experts like you, supporting you to create a six-figure coaching business in harmony with your soul energy. Now, remember to get your free high-ticket coaching business guide at bit.ly/HTB guide. HTB standing for high ticket business. And if you watch this on YouTube, then please share and subscribe and click the little thingy. As well as watching this on any other channel, please subscribe and share, as well as listening to this podcast, please subscribe and share. I would really appreciate that. And very importantly, leave comments. Love to read your comments. And now, let's dive in. Today, my special guest is Pete Mohr. And I am super excited for all of us to benefit from the vast human experience that Pete has. Pete is a business made simple certified coach. And that's something as business owners we all are striving for, right? Mm-hmm. And also, Pete has footwear stores in Ontario, Canada. So he speaks from a perspective of an online service-based business, like a coach, as well as having a brick and mortar business, which I think is really awesome. So let's dive in. Welcome to the Soul Purpose Business Bliss podcast, Pete.
Thanks so much for having me, Dina. It's wonderful to be here today with you.
Awesome. So Pete, you are from Ontario, Canada?
I am. Have been here all my life. I mean, I don't live where I grew up. I grew up in the Ottawa area, which is the capital of Canada. And now I live about an hour or so outside of Toronto, which I know most people in the world know the Toronto area, or at least have heard of it. So I'm about an hour outside of Toronto, and have always been living and working and in business in Canada. So it's a proud Canadian.
Oh, awesome. And you had a Thanksgiving recently?
We just did. As we're recording this is today is Thanksgiving Monday, so it's our holiday sort of thing. But we had our Thanksgiving with my family on Saturday night, because that's when everybody could actually gather and get together. So enjoyed a wonderful meal around the table, and just had a wonderful time. So Thanksgiving, such a great time of year here in Canada too. All the leaves are changing. It's just it's a vibrant time of year, and the weather really cooperated for us too, to be outside and enjoy the day.
Oh, that's awesome. I love autumn. You speak of the fall, we speak of autumn. And sure. Of course, we have spring at the moment. So it's all blossoming, and the air, the smells in the air is just beautiful. So Pete, give us a little background about your journey and, how you discovered your purpose, your soul purpose.
Sure. Well, I mean, ultimately, I've been an entrepreneur pretty much my entire life. You hear about the people that kind of started doing stuff and pushing the lawnmower around, and that was me. I did all the small stuff after school, helping people out, making a few dollars here, shoveling snow in the winter, cutting grass, and all that sort of thing. I had a few little small businesses through high school and university, and then I went to university and I took a business degree. And after that, I worked for about 6 months for my dad's best friend at the time. And, great business, really liked what we were doing and liked his business as well. But during that time, I determined really that working for myself was going to be my life path. And I just wanted to make my own way. And so at that time, 1994, I was 23. I bought my first business. I bought a franchise, and we did refinishing. We did all sorts of bathroom renovations and things like that, refinishing bathtubs, bathtub liners, kitchen refacing, a lot of that sort of stuff. And I had that business until I sold it in 2009. it's still doing well and continues to do well now. So, but during that time, I bought another business, which was a cleaning franchise.
Mhm.
And at that time, it was really struggling. It only had 30 clients, and we grew that to over 300. And
Wow.
during that, so I always have had kind of two businesses on the go most of my career. And then I decided to go back, take my MBA in later life. So 2007, I started that process. And I thought maybe I would go into big business for a few years and then
Mhm.
take that learning back into a different business. But as I graduated my MBA, and I had set it up so that my goal was, as I was entering the MBA, to have sold both of those businesses by the time I finished it in 2009, which I did. And then 2009, there was the crash. So
Oh.
there wasn't a whole lot of work for MBAs. And even with my sort of entrepreneurial experience and stuff like that, I went to work and one of my major projects in the MBA was with Sunbelt Business Brokers and the owner of Sunbelt Business Brokers in Canada, Greg Kells. And for him, I had done a whole bunch of work, and he said, Peter, would love to have you as part of the team here. And I went to work for Sunbelt Business Brokers, became a realtor, and
Mhm.
helped people buy and sell businesses for a while. During
Okay.
that time, I found the shoe store that you had mentioned,
Yes.
Shoetopia here, and I actually pitched it to, I was living in Ottawa at the time, and I pitched it to another gentleman, and he said, there's no way I can get my family to move 5.5 hours away to some little town in southwestern Ontario. So he goes, I'm a city guy. So, and
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's no problem. Well, we actually, although my businesses were always in Ottawa, we lived in a small town and I commuted into Ottawa
Mhm. Mhm.
every day. We are small town people. And the business was a really good one. And, so we actually made the move, my wife and I and family, down to Fergus, Ontario, where that business was. I live in a small town right beside it called Elora. But, and then we bought Shoetopia. We then took over another store and rebranded it. And then we opened a third store as well. And since then, we moved the second one. And that was, well, let's just call it a learning experience. It was
Okay.
actually a disaster. The move was a disaster, and we had to close that store. But those kind of things are part of the journey of entrepreneurialism.
Mm.
And
Mm.
you win some and you lose some, and there are risks involved in being an entrepreneur, and all of these different things along the way. I look at all of those things because we've had some awesome times and some really good experiences, but we've had some bad ones too, and that's part of that journey that you were talking
Part
about.
of that
What's the
journey.
journey? Well, one of the businesses that I sold a long time ago, now that business, I only actually got paid 80% of what the deal was, because the person that bought it reneged on the last 20%.
Oh, wow.
So, it's an interesting thing as you're setting up these different things. And I mean, could I have taken him to court and sued him for it and all this other stuff? Yes, I could have, but it would have been a long drawn out battle, and it
In the
probably
end,
would have
you
cost
lose
me as
out.
much as I would have got back. And,
Mm.
certain things, those are just the learnings along the way. And I think
And
that's all part of it.
I think what really is my next question is, you also mentioned about decision making.
Oh, yeah.
And for entrepreneurs, I mean, just hearing you saying now, telling your story, I can just pick up all the different huge decisions you had to make. And it is a lonely place for an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
So in
it
your
is.
experience, is there like a few questions kind of thing that one can use to set up sort of as criteria to make a decision? Because I also know the thing that people entrepreneurs do, or that coaches do, is we start to second guess ourselves. We
Hmm.
make a decision and then we wonder, is this the real thing?
Yeah.
So what in your experience is like a process for really solid decision making?
In my coaching business with Simplifying Entrepreneurship, I have several different tools and frameworks around decision making, because as entrepreneurs, that's what we do. We make decisions, right? And, there are a lot of people out there that are used to being told what to do. Well, when you run your own business, you have to make that call. You have to be able to and ready and willing and have the confidence and clarity to do that. And I know you like to talk about clarity too in some of the work that you do.
Clarity is
And
gold.
I've got a line that I use in my Simplifying Entrepreneurship podcast every time, and it's clarity creates confidence, and confidence ignites momentum. Absolutely. So that's a line that I use a lot. Clarity creates confidence, and confidence ignites momentum. And I have another whole model called the wheel of momentum, which really rolls around that. But when we take it back to decision making, I have a one-page tool, and we didn't talk about this before, but I'm happy to share it with your guests, anybody who's listening as well. We can set that up afterwards if you would like.
Awesome.
And it's called the one-page prop. And from that perspective, what it does is it lets you align everything on one page. I love sort of one-page tools, and I find them really, a lot of what I do is working around these different frameworks and molds and different things that allow us to make decisions easier and gain that clarity in a little easier way. And from that perspective, it starts with, on the upper sort of left-hand corner, it starts with, what is your purpose? So from that perspective, it's really around the idea of, what are you trying to gain from this decision that you're going to make, right? How are you going to, what's the goal of that? What's your intention?
Or the intention, yes.
Yeah. And then the next one, the R, is what's the result?
Okay.
What are we, what's the desired income? So you have your purpose, your intention and objective, and what's the result you're trying to deliver with the decision that you're going to make? And
whether that's income or a relationship,
anything,
or a decision, doesn't matter. What is that result that you're looking for?
What's the result? And then the O is, what are the obstacles that you're going to face? The fears, the barriers, the obstacles that you're going to have to overcome in order to drive the purpose and achieve the result. And then the last P of the prop is the plan. What's the system and method that you're going to do after you've thought all of this out? The purpose, the result, the obstacles that you overcome. Now, what's your plan in order to achieve it? And then I have another little sideline in there too, which is who. And that is, who's going to help you get there?
Yeah, and that's beautiful.
And who can be an automation? It could be a tool. It could be a person. It could, I use the word who, but really when you think of it, there are so many different pieces of the puzzle that can help you get through your plan so that you can overcome the obstacles, achieve the result, and bring home the purpose.
That's really cool. And what I also, of course, about the obstacles, something that I think that it's like the human condition is our assumptions. We make so many assumptions, and
for sure,
I suppose when we unpack the obstacles, something else, and sort of a next level there is to just look at this and see, what are assumptions here that I'm making, instead of what is really true, what is really an obstacle, or what is an excuse, or what is an assumption that may be false, in that thing. And I think that'll give someone such a lot of clarity on. I love that. It's really. I think I would even take you on for the audience to get that.
That's great. I mean, it's all part of, like I said, what we do every day when we talk about being an entrepreneur, making good decisions, making better decisions, and then even better decisions, and having frameworks and systems. Well, that's pretty much what I do every day, is set people up with all of those kind of things. And, that's this idea of turning your worries and wants into wins, or turning your frustrations and overwhelm into freedom. And from that perspective, we talk a little bit, or I talk a little bit about the 4 Ps, and driving that home is another model. And from that perspective of turning all those frustrations, and first of all, really understanding what those frustrations are, getting them down, understanding them fully, and then turning them into freedoms. Because that's, as entrepreneurs, we get into business because we want to create the freedoms and the lifestyle that we want, right?
And of
And
course
what
that
happens?
helps. Yeah. No, sorry.
Yeah, what
Go for it.
happens is that you get mired down in the frustrations and overwhelm of doing all your day-to-day business, that sometimes you lose focus on those things.
We get so
You-
stuck in the problems,
oh
and
yeah,
instead of starting to focus on what is the solution,
for
what am I
sure.
going for, and versus what am I moving away from, what am I stuck in. Just share with us, these 4 P's,
Mhm.
that how that applies to a really small business. What are the 4 P's and how would they apply?
Yeah. So they apply to whether the business is just you or whether it's a huge business. It doesn't matter. They cross the frameworks of all sizes of business. And it starts with having the right product. And I mean, I could use the word service, but it doesn't start with a P. So it's either product or service, right? So do you have the right product, and are people willing to pay for it and buy it? A lot of people think about it and all this other stuff, and they're dreaming about what it all is. But if somebody isn't ready to scribe a check for you and to pay the dollars that you are asking for, then you don't have the product that's in demand, and you won't have the cash flow. And when you don't have the cash flow, you don't have a business.
No, that is absolutely true. So the product is also, of course, a coaching program, is that thing, and that is my passion as well. As you love systems and creation and frameworks and things, that's exactly what I do as well.
Yeah.
In my business, to create that for my clients.
For sure.
And what is really awesome here is that, of course, that, as you say, that product or service or program must be for the right audience.
For sure.
Otherwise, it's not going to work. And isn't it amazing? I see that a lot of times that especially coaches, they create like a program or something that they think their clients want.
That's the problem.
And of course, nobody wants it. Yeah. So talk a little bit about that, about finding the product that that fit, if I can talk.
Well, I mean, ultimately, I like to put things in sort of in this product bucket of the first P of the 4. Basically, I like to just keep testing and trying, seeing where things are going to land. And what people get mired down in is this idea that it has to be, another P, perfect. Well, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just need to get it out there into the public, and that way you can see it, and then you can hone it and massage it and maneuver it along the way. But until you put something live so that you can test whether or not it's actually of value to your customer, because again, you have to create the value. If they don't see the value, they won't pay for it. And there's a lot of talk out there about, well, we need to make our money and all this other stuff. But if somebody isn't going to pay for it, well, you could spend 2 years developing what you consider the perfect program that nobody's going to pay.
Yeah. Well, I did exactly that. One of my big lessons as when I started out, created this huge system, a huge platform for was a personal development.
Right.
And just coming from IT, of course, designing huge systems and things, I thought I knew exactly I saw this whole thing, it's beautiful, had it developed, and then nobody bought it. And then somebody at one stage asked me, so who is the target market? And I said, what? Anybody who wants to do self-development. My word, that is this classic mistake that we make.
A lot of people do. And but that's the big learning there with the product portion or service program, from that perspective, is that you just need to get it out in the public. You need to get it out and have it live a little bit and get the feedback, and then perfect, if you want to use the word perfect, after you see if there's any viability within it. The next step after product is process.
Okay.
and you need to have the right processes in place that are going to make sense for the product to be developed and put into play so that everything in your business is running smoothly. And there's so many processes, whether you're one person or whether you're many. It just depends on the complexity of the processes and that sort of thing. But digging into the right processes and systems, that sort of thing. One of my coaches along the way, his name is Joel Weldon, and Joel introduced me to an acronym called SYSTEM, and that saves you stress, time, energy, and money.
Oh yeah.
So when you look at processes or systems, you're looking at things that save you stress, time, energy, and money, and not only you, but your clients as well.
Yeah.
Right. So all of those processes around there. And a lot of the times we have processes in place that aren't even adding any value anywhere. They're just there because they've always been there. And it's like, we need to look at those too, those legacy ones, and sometimes just need to scrap them and get rid of them because they just don't make sense anymore. They aren't viable. They're not adding any benefit. So a lot of those kind of things, I mean, there's just, we could spend an hour, we could spend 2 days talking about different processes, but it needs to be looked at in depth. And then people is the third P. And people is also the biggest one, in my opinion, is having the right people in place. And I say there's 3 different levels of people. One is your team. So if you do have a team, are they the right people for your team? Okay. 2 is your clients, and are they the right and ideal client? And 3 is those other people that are what I consider suppliers to you in whatever you deliver. And are they the right people? Are they the right matches to help you deliver your promise to your client? And those are the 3 areas that tend to cause frustration, that tend to cause issues, that tend to stop growth, that, all of these things around people, whether it's the wrong client, the wrong person helping you on your team, or the wrong supplier, or whether it's the right, can be game changing in the growth of your business and in the personal satisfaction of what you do every day.
And of course, again, what comes into play here is clarity of actually sitting down and writing down the criteria. What do you want in somebody working with you on your team? How do you want, what do you want in a supplier? What do you want in your clients? So often, we just go blindly into hiring because someone else said that person is good or whatever. And we really burn our fingers that way.
Yeah. And so again, setting up frameworks, setting up these 1-page sheets that we're talking about, setting up exactly what you need out of all of these things, and working on your business instead of in your business to do this sort of stuff, so that when you do have to come back and work in your business, it's there for you with ultimate clarity. It's pretty much these frameworks really help ensure that your business is going to move along in the right direction. Absolutely. The last of the P's is profit. And some people say start with profit, but if you don't have your product and you don't have your process and you don't have the right people, you can't get to profit. So, but profit's the one thing that helps you along the way deliver back your time. And from that side of things, it's an interesting thing because most entrepreneurs, like I said, you kind of go into business as you start a business. You're like, oh, I'm going to have the nice car, have the nice home, I'm going to live my life and take my trips and all that stuff. And then you kind of get at it and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm working more than I ever have. I'm 70 hours a week. I'm mired down in the frustration and I'm not making as much money as I want to. When you start with this stuff, the first 3 P's, and really narrow that down and start enjoying a bit of the profit, then you can use some of that profit to buy back some of your time. Because with time, you can't buy more time, but you're going to use every bit of time that's there. So that's the other thing. There's productivity around using your time. A lot of P's today.
But
But, getting back to the profit side of things, what you can't buy more time, but what you can do is you can buy other people's time. So that's when you're starting to look for professional people again, coming back down to the people, and you're elevating and delegating yourself out of some of the positions that you don't want to do anymore, or that you can find people who are actually better at doing it than you.
Exactly.
And releasing it to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And for Pete, tell me, how do you see mindset in entrepreneurship and running a business and making it grow and everything?
That's a big one. we could be here all day. But I mean, mindset's so important. Here we started talking off about Thanksgiving, and I'm very thankful for being an entrepreneur. I'm thankful for the life that it's given me. I'm thankful for the people that have helped me get to where I am. I'm thankful for the relationships that I have. And I look at a bunch of other things around mindset. I've crafted and created what I call the one-page planner. And it's a planner that outlines sort of your life, your year, your quarters, your weeks, your days, and kind of allows you to recapture this sort of thing around mindset every day. And make sure that when you have these things aligned that we're talking about, the life that you want to live, you understand what it is, you've written it down, you've envisioned it, and then you're using essentially your business that you're crafting to help get you there.
Yes.
And that's, to me, why I love doing what I do with Simplifying Entrepreneurship, is that I can help entrepreneurs get them to the life that they want to live, because that's why we got in business. We got in business to create a better life. Absolutely. And from that perspective, that's the mindset that when I'm working with my clients, that's the mindset that's always there. It's like, listen, we need to do what we need to do in order to create the life that we want to live. And that involves a certain amount of mindset around positivity. These things that we even talked about a little bit earlier about maybe lowering the level of perfection in order to get things out there. I mean, there's lots of different mindsets that you can come at. And but to me, it's all around the buckets of life around health, wealth, relationships, your mission, your purpose, your goals, your growth, and what you'd like to do with your time. And I kind of go back to this idea of time, because even the most successful entrepreneurs, for the most part, wish they had more time.
Yes.
And so my goal is always to give you back time. And that's because that's one of the most precious things that we have in life, so that we can enjoy some of those things more, better relationships, better health, all those things. It all rolls around the time and how we spend it.
Yes. And I think also what's important is, to have the time to enjoy. Well, the money that you make, it's no use to make a huge income and you work like 7 days a week, because then it sort of owns you. Instead of you owning your business, it owns you. And I think that's a great distinction to make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things with entrepreneurs, right? Is that we, as owners of the business, our lives and our businesses are tied together.
Yes,
and it's how do we uncouple them at times, and how do we actually make them better when they are coupled together, both for our business and for our lives. And that's, I'm sure you work with the same sort of thing all the time, but that's essentially, part of entrepreneurialism, is that understanding of how that works together.
Absolutely. And to give us to not only build a business, but to build a life.
For sure.
To have a life too. And I think that is I work a lot with mindset as well. That's sort of, I believe mindset is 90% of your success. And believing in yourself, because we have so many fears that are driving us so many conditioning. And I think it might be more of a factor for the female entrepreneur than maybe for the male entrepreneur. I just think that men are maybe more like, the masculine energy. They just go and do this. And the feminine energy is much more, am I good enough kind of thing, So it's to find that balance. Between creating, but then also go and take action. So we can chat another day.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
This,
like I said,
Pete.
we can spend a week talking about mindset.
And so I want to thank you for your time. It has been really awesome. And tell us just, where can people get hold of you, and where do they find you?
Yeah, so pretty easily, you can just Google Simplifying Entrepreneurship, which is the name of my business, and you'll find my website, you'll find my podcast and more about me. And then also you can hook up with me on LinkedIn or Instagram at Pete, P-E-T-E, Mohr, M-O-H-R. And from that perspective, always happy to chat with anybody. On my website, there's also an assessment that you can take, which kind of goes through where you're at with your business and where you want to be with your business. It takes about 15 minutes, but it's a great little assessment. And it will, again, kind of get you in that framework about thinking about your thinking and thinking about what you want to do and what you want to pursue, and also what you're really good at currently. So it kind of gives you the bit of the both. It's like, all right, here's what I'm really good at, and here's maybe what I need to work on for the next year. Because entrepreneurship, as we started with, is a true journey. And from that perspective, it's never ending. It just continues to go as long as you're in business. And that's the beauty of it, I think.
Yeah, isn't it? It's never stagnant. And that's what I
love
love about being in business, is that it's always something new. There's always the next level. There's always something to strive for. There's always that next level. Pete, thank you. And I'm sure that everybody has enjoyed this amazing interview with you. Thank you so much for all your gems of your wisdom that you shared with us. And please leave us your comments below the video or below the podcast. I will have the links of that one prop thing in the description that Pete tell us about. And bye for now.
Make it a great day.